Well, UFC fans have a new place to watch the product after the UFC and the parent company Endeavor reached agreement with Paramount on a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal. Now, this is a topic that I don't think a lot of my viewers really care about too much, MMA, but the beautiful thing about having my own channel is I don't have a 70-year-old wizened program director eating tapioca pudding telling me, just talk Eagles. So, bear with me on this one. But really, this is a business of sports episode in a lot of ways because this deal is great for UFC fans. Gone are the days of the $80 pay-per-view price that we were forced to deal with at the hands of ESPN Plus. You know, it started off at 60 and then now it's at 80. And if you watch any of my UFC previews, a lot of times I'm sitting there telling you it's not worth $80. These 5 fights aren't worth $80. Go to a bar that has it for free. Go to a Buffalo Wild Wings. Grab a bunch of buddies. Split it. Do not buy this on your own. It is not worth it. Very rarely did I actually sit there and look at a card and go, that's worth an $80 price tag. That goes away because now Paramount has all of the UFC library. They have all the fight nights. They have all the pay-per-views, and that's not going to affect the viewer, which is great for the viewer. And you've seen this. You're seeing the streaming services scoop up sports. You saw Netflix grab the WWE. They've also grabbed a couple of NFL games. ESPN Plus set themselves up with this deal by grabbing the WWE pay-per-view. So all those pay-per-views are now going to live behind a paywall on ESPN Plus. Lord only knows how much they're going to charge for that. Peacock has the Champions League, and they have a couple other ones. Apple has Major League Baseball. Paramount really didn't have much. I honestly can't think of anything they had. I'm sure they had something, but it wasn't something that I really watched. And I'm a pretty big sports guy. But now they finally have dipped their toe in with a massive, massive contract that Dana White said came together in 48 hours. And my guess is the deal came together so quickly because Paramount said, we'll give you $7.7 billion. And Dana said, okay, where do we sign? And then it took about 2 days for all interested parties to draw up the paperwork and actually sign the deal. Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? $7.7 billion. The TKO Sports, which is the subsidiary of Endeavor on the stock exchange, their price went up, as you can imagine. This is good for Endeavor. This is good for the UFC. This is good for the ownership. This is good for fans. You know who it's not good for? The fighters. Right now, it is not good for the fighters. And this is the time for the fighters to actually unionize. Because while Dana White comes out and says, oh, yeah, the bonuses are going up. And if you're unaware of how the UFC works, they don't pay their fighters all that well. The guys that are making a decent money, the superstars, yes, they are getting paid a decent chunk of change. But the guys on the prelims, the guys who aren't superstars yet, maybe the journeyman fighters, they're really not making a livable wage. Now, the way it used to be was if you were a superstar, you were getting pay-per-view points if you were the champion. If you were the guy holding the belt, you got a share of the revenue of the pay-per-view. Well, that goes away. So while the bonuses are going up, great for the 4 fighters who get bonuses for fight of the nights and performances of the night. But other than that, I mean, I'm sure it'll go up a little bit in terms of their pay, but their pay when you start out of the UFC, and I believe it's still the same, is 12 to win and 12 to show. Meaning if you just show up, you're getting 12K. If you win, you get another 12K. So in total, if you win your fight on that contract, you're getting $24,000. Seems like good money, right? Well, then you got to factor in that you need to train. You're paying your trainers to train. Then you need to fly out to most of the time it's in Vegas, but it could be like the pay-per-view this week is in Chicago. It might be in Abu Dhabi. It might be overseas in London. They've gone to Paris before. Now, the UFC will pay you, the fighter. They'll pay your way to go out. But if you want your coaches, which everybody does, friends or family want to come, you're paying that. And that's why a lot of times the friends and family don't come. Because you're really just able to afford your coaches, and that is it. So you have to fly them out. You also have to put them up in a hotel room. And then after that, obviously, there's the tax man. That $24,000 goes away quick, okay? Because if you're dedicated to the fight game and you get $24,000, you got to figure you're really probably only going away with like 14 after it's all said and done. And then you got to hope to God that they give you another fight, that you can get another fight. You fight 3 times a year, it's not that much money. To the point where Jeff Neal, who is a ranked fighter in the UFC, was working at, I think it was Longhorn Steakhouse or one of those like commercial steakhouse. Like imagine that you sit down, and the guy that comes over and says, "Hey, I'm Jeff. I'll be taking care of you today," and you look up and it's Hands of Steel Jeff Neal, because the UFC is having trouble finding him an opponent. He is broke at this point. He has used up all his resources, and he has to go wait tables. And he's a ranked guy. He's a guy that has earned performance bonuses. So while this, like, let's hypothetically say the performance bonuses go up to $100,000, it's great if you hit that bonus. It's great if you're one of the guys that has a performance of the night, or you're involved in one of the fight of the nights. But if you're not, how much is this going up? And that gets back to the original point. They need to unionize. They desperately need to unionize. They have never unionized. And that is one of the reasons why they don't make a lot of money. I know a lot of people don't like Jake Paul. I get it. He's got a punchable face, and now he's a boxer, and he wins. So it's like, I want to see that guy get punched in the face, and when he doesn't get punched in the face, he ends up winning. It's frustrating. I get it. Guy makes a good point. Like, they really need to get on this, because he is one of the guys that have said multiple times, you need to get a union. You need to actually band together and make the UFC pay you guys like you're professional athletes. I know for a lot of the working class out there, you're going to hear these numbers and you're going to think like, I could live off that. Great. They're putting their bodies at risk. Like it's cage fighting. And they're getting $12,000 if they lose to cage fight. That's insane to me. These are pro athletes who just watched their parent company reach a $7.7 billion deal. The 0.7, you forget, is $700 million. Think about that. And you've still got guys going out there with 12 and 12 contracts. Now, it hasn't happened yet. One of the reasons why it hasn't happened, and this is what we'll tie into the Philly sports angle, is because you haven't had superstars actually band together and stick up for the little guy. Because the superstars, because the company guys, Daniel Cormier, who is a former champion and who's, working broadcast, and he gets his ESPN podcast with Chael Sonnen, and, he's always up at, in front of the cameras, and, he's treated good. He's a company guy. So he comes out and he says, no, the UFC, they pay their fighters really well. I'll tell you a story. One time, we were at a pay-per-view, and Dana White called me and said, the pay-per-view did amazing. I'm sending you $1 million check. So instead of sticking up for the guys on the undercards, he goes the company route. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds. Part of me gets that. But it would mean so much more if a superstar in the game, if a Sean O'Malley, Conor McGregor, I won't even throw out there because he's really not a fighter anymore, but if like the Sean O'Malleys of the world, if the John Joneses of the world, if they go, this is bullshit, and they won't do it. And that's why I love Bryce Harper getting in the face of Rob Manfred and saying, oh, you want to talk salary cap? Get the fuck out. Because Bryce Harper is going to end up making $330 million at the end of his Phillies contract. He doesn't need to stick up for the guy on his rookie deal. He didn't need to stick up for Ranger Suarez, who's in arbitration, or Bryson Stott, who's in arbitration, but he did it anyway. Because he knows that that's what's best for the next generation of players. And the UFC fighters, they don't care about the next generation. They don't care about the current generation. They care about what's good for them, and one of the reasons why they care about what's good for them is because they're not getting paid all that well. So they don't want to ruffle any feathers. Because if you're in the fight game, there's one place that is going to actually pay you the best. That is probably the UFC. And yeah, okay, you can go fight PFL. No one's going to watch you. That's the reality. MMA junkies will watch you, but no one's lining up. You want to go be Mo Makayev and fighting Brave? Is anyone watching Brave? Brave FC? Probably not, right? So you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and that's why they have a monopoly. But it would really benefit these guys to look at this deal, sit around, and go, like, yo, we need to actually form a plan here. Because the UFC just reached this big deal with Paramount. What happens if they get out there and they don't have any fighters? The UFC are already overcrowded on their roster with fighters. I could sit there and go, like, Ricky Tercios, why is he a fighter? Well, they have all these fight nights. They have to fill the cards. So Trayshawn Gore is a UFC fighter. He's not. But hey, Parker Porter is a UFC heavyweight. He's not, but they got to fill the cards out, right? So they're already littered with a bunch of guys that really aren't UFC caliber because they need to fill cards. So imagine what happens when this Paramount deal, starts to pop up, and we're right around the corner from the Paramount deal, and all of a sudden the UFC fighters go, whoa, we're not fighting until we talk contract. Where's our part of the $7.7 billion? And yeah, Dana White's going to come out and he's going to do a spin job because that's what he does. And that's, he's best friends with a guy in Washington right now who taught him everything he knows about just you lie, and eventually people will buy it. But this deal, while it's great for me, bad for the fighters. And that's why they have to unionize. Now's the part of the video where I'm going to beg you to subscribe. I said it pretty much in every video. I need 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. As soon as I hit those marks, I will stop begging you to subscribe. But if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be cool. You know where that is. Thumbs up, down, comment if you want, if you think that they should, if you don't care. Whatever you want. It's a free country. That's the beautiful thing about this. Hey, go Phillies.